Welcome to everyone who is joining today's webinar. My name is Debbie Archer and I'm going to be the host for the first part of this presentation. In the first instance, I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of the acronyms. Today we're doing an introduction to the iSAQB CPSA certification program, specifically for training providers. iSAQB is the International Software Architecture Qualification Board. CPSA is the Certified Professional for Software Architecture, and I'm from ISAQB, the International Software Quality Institute, and I'll discuss a little bit later the relationship between the different parties. As I mentioned, today is specifically for training providers. If there are any of you who are attending who are not training providers, then please stay with us. We very much welcome you. But also look out for some broadcasts of some presentations we did yesterday, which are specifically for people who are seeking to be certified rather than for becoming training providers. The agenda, we'll do some introductions in a moment. We're then going to look at the CPSA certification program. We have both foundation and advanced levels. And then we'll look at the accreditation process for training providers, for trainers, and also with regard to the accredited training materials. In closing, we'll do a summary, and within that summary, we'll talk about some of the benefits to training providers of accrediting to offer iSAQB training. My name is Debbie Archer and I'm Managing Director of ISAQB Limited. ISAQB is a group of companies which I'll discuss a little bit about in a moment. I'm delighted to have with us Mr. Roger Rhoades, who is an active member of iSAQB, and also Mr. Mirka Hillert, who is the Managing Director for iSAQB. A little bit about ISAQB as a certification body for iSAQB. We were established in 2004 and we have expanded globally. We have offices in Potsdam, Germany. That is also our international service centre and indeed our headquarters. We have ISAQB Limited based in the UK, and we have ISAQB BV in the Netherlands and ISAQB Inc. based in Berlin. Annually, we're delivering about 30,000 certification exams around the world. The certification portfolio includes, as well as iSAQB, IREB, International Requirements Engineering Board, and iSTQB, and all of them have a good fit with the iSAQB curriculum, I would say. The cooperation between the parties is quite important to understand, and Roger will touch on this a little bit more later also. So ISAQB is the certification body. We are responsible for actually identifying the delivery channels, which are acceptable, of course, to the iSAQB board. We organise the registration and the delivery of the exams using a network of invigilators. And those invigilators are highly trained, and indeed we have an invigilation network which extends globally. We're responsible for the evaluation and the validation of the examinations, and this is really important. We are an independent certification body, independent of the board and independent of the training providers. We are certified to ISO 17024. This is the standard for certification bodies and really important. Also 9001, so you can be assured of quality, and also actually your data security, another aspect that's important. The iSAQB, the board, are responsible for development of the overall scheme, the structure of the scheme, the contents of the scheme, the development of the syllabi, and also the examinations and the marking of associated with the examinations, what constitutes someone being certified. Training providers, this is for training providers, and Roger indeed is himself a training provider who'll present in a moment. We have training providers around the world and it's growing quickly. And again, Roger will touch on this a little bit more in his presentation. I'm going to answer this question now because it's something we're always asked in questions, and that's about the exam types. Exams can be delivered after training, either as paper exams or online exams. We provide the invigilators, and as I mentioned earlier, they are highly trained. Individuals can also self-study or take a little bit of a break period between the training to revise perhaps, and attend a Pearson View test centre. Importantly, at the moment, exams are available by remote proctor, so they can be taken at home, which, as you can understand, in the current global crisis, has been really important to students wishing to study. I'm going to hand over now to Roger, and he will introduce himself. Just a quick note, on the right-hand side of your screen, you will see that there is a question box. Please do pop any questions you have for Roger and myself, and also Mirka Hillard, who will be joining us too. And we will do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. If there are any questions which we can't answer, then please be assured we will come back to you with an answer as soon as we can. And also we will record this webinar, so you'll be able to dip into it again and also share it with colleagues. So Roger, thank you very much. Over to you.
Hi, Debbie, thank you for the introduction, and thanks to iSAQB as well as ISQI for giving me the opportunity to present today. So as Debbie said, I am an active member of iSAQB. I am in the foundation group that improves on the foundation exam questions, the glossary, the foundation curriculum, etc., and I'm very active there. I'm also an accredited training provider and an accredited trainer for iSAQB. And the training courses that I currently personally give are the foundation level course and the soft skills and enterprise architecture management advanced level courses. And at Albion Academy, we do have other trainers that give additional iSAQB trainings, for example, functional architecture, architecture documentation, and evaluation. I think one of the things that sets us apart is that, one of the things that sets us apart, I think, is that we have highly interactive training courses. So it is very unusual, for example, that I would even show slides. So it's almost the opposite of this webinar. I interact very much with my course participants. We do different case studies and exercises. I just find that the course participants learn a lot more when they do the hands-on exercises. I am a practicing architect, software architect and enterprise architect, and I bring this experience into the training courses as well. And I think that helps the course participants really understand much more about not just the theory, but how things are actually done. If you would like to learn more about Albion or about the courses that we provide, simply visit the website at albion.eu. So I'd like to start off talking about iSAQB as an organization. So the International Software Architecture Qualification Board, iSAQB. I think this picture really says a lot about who we are. This is a picture from our last meeting, our last yearly meeting for iSAQB. So we aren't a big corporation with no names and very impersonal. We are an independent nonprofit organization with voluntary members from different industries, consulting, training, academia, and other organizations. So that means a couple of things. In the first place, since we come from different industries, consulting, etc., we bring in different perspectives for software architecture. And that makes us also independent. So we're not just one company pushing an agenda, but we're an independent group of people with a whole bunch of different ideas. And the other is that most of our members are voluntary and not employees of iSAQB. And what that means is we work in our free time just out of the love of software architecture to improve the software architecture in this industry. And I think that says a lot about us. And we've achieved so much just doing things in our spare time. And you may even recognize a few of the people in this picture because they have written books, they are giving at conferences, etc. So it's a really great group of people. The history of iSAQB. We started off in 2001 as the German Software Architecture Board. The very next year, we had our first certified architect, and in 2008, we became an independent international association, and now that has remained since 2008 as the International Software Architecture Qualification Board. Now, since that time, we have gone international and we have a ton of software architecture certifications. We have over 17,000 certified software architects worldwide. We did start off in Germany, but we quickly expanded to Austria and Switzerland, and now we're in several countries. For example, in a couple of months, I'm giving a course by a training provider in Ukraine. There are some training providers coming in India and in China, and so we are really branching out and becoming international. And this keeps growing and growing every year. What also keeps growing is the number of certifications that we have. This is a pretty state of growth of how many people we have certified. And so there is definitely still a lot of high demand for the certified software architects. So what is it that we do? So I'll start off with what we don't do. We don't provide the courses ourselves. So what we do is we develop and maintain the curricula of the foundation course and the different advanced level courses. We also define and oversee the certification process and examinations, and we do accredit the courses, the training providers, and the trainers. So one of the things that we've done from the very beginning as well is just simply standardize and raise awareness of software architecture. So this is something that we have been doing, and mostly through these curriculum for software architecture, but we're also branching out in this area, and by the end of this year, we should be having some architecture communities as well. We're starting off in Germany, and we'll branch out as well with that. And that'll really help us to not only then just give courses, but also to bring all of the people together that have already had either the foundation certification and or the advanced certification. And those will be our alumni from the iSAQB that are part of this community. And with this community, then we can exchange information between the different software architects, make new contacts, etc. So that'll be a great opportunity that's coming in the following months. But we can't do this alone, and therefore we partner with a whole bunch of different companies. So as I stated, iSAQB is responsible for defining and overseeing the curricula and exams, as well as accrediting the training providers. The training providers are the ones that actually give the courses, and they sell the courses, market the courses, and organize the training courses. So if a potential customer wants to take an iSAQB course, they don't go to iSAQB, they would typically go to the training provider to book the course directly with the training provider. However, all the training providers and their courses are listed on the iSAQB website, so that when the people interested in iSAQB trainings do go to iSAQB website, they can search for trainings and the training providers will be listed at the iSAQB website. Now the training providers, they can't do this work alone either. In the end, they also need trainers to actually provide the trainings. So the trainers are the ones responsible for preparing the training materials and performing the trainings themselves. Now let's say that you've taken the training and now you want to get certified, you want to take the exam. And that's where the certification bodies come in, and iSAQB is a perfect example of a certification body where they would then manage the exams and manage the advanced level certifications. And last but not least is the academic partners. Now, like training providers, they prepare students for the CPSA foundation exam and organize exams for the certifying bodies. However, they are more at the academic level, and the training providers are more at the commercial level. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is all this necessary? And I think it's a very good separation of concerns. Separation of concerns is an architecture principle, for example, and it just means let people concentrate on their specialties. So for example, a trainer isn't necessarily going to be the best at providing training, at sales and marketing, and vice versa. And it also helped us maintain integrity. So for example, a trainer definitely is motivated that his course participants do well on the certification exam. However, there's a conflict of interest there. And so we do separate that out between trainers and certification bodies and training providers so that we can maintain that integrity as well. So I think this structure is very good for iSAQB. So I've talked about iSAQB as an organization, and now I'll switch to iSAQB's certification program itself. So there are currently 2 levels of certification. The first is the foundation level, and that's that you can demonstrate that you have the knowledge to create, document, and evaluate architectures for small and medium-sized systems. The next level is the advanced level certification, And that's where you not only have the knowledge, but you can also apply that knowledge, and you can show that you have the architecture skills to create architectures for not only small to medium sized, but also large mission critical systems. And so the biggest difference there is, one is I have the knowledge, the other is I can apply the knowledge. Now we are working on an expert level, which is above the advanced level. And we have been working on that. That's getting very close to being finalized. And so we should have that by the end of the year or early next year. And the expert level is to show that you not only have the knowledge and that you can apply the knowledge, but that you can also expand the knowledge in the industry. So for example, if you're a microservices expert, you can show that you have some things to say that's much more than what's already documented in articles and the internet and books and things like that for software, for microservices, software architecture. And so the expert level is for those people who bring the software architecture topics even further than they are currently today. So, and we are talking about other certifications, but those are the ones right now that are available. So I'll talk about the foundation and the content of the foundation course shortly. Starts off with the basic concept of software architecture. Just simply, what is software architecture? How is it different from development? Who are our stakeholders? Who do we work with? Just simply different terms and definitions. Then the main part of this course is the design and development, and that's how do we approach it? How do we approach architecture at all? Do we do top down, bottom up? Do we use domain-driven design? How do we approach it at all? We also talk about things like architecture principles and architecture design patterns. So for example, if you have a problem that needs to be solved and through a design pattern is more or less a pre-made solution for your problem. And other software architecture topics like cross-cutting concerns, etc. So that's the main part. But designing a great architecture doesn't do you much good if you can't communicate that architecture. And so that's why the green part here, the specification and communication, is also a big part of what we do in the foundation course to show the architects that they also need to be able to identify their stakeholders, identify what kind of interests their stakeholders have, what kind of concerns their stakeholders have, and how they can communicate to their stakeholders so that they can make decisions about the architecture. The next section is software architecture and quality. And with quality, we mean system quality, which is referring to things like maintainability, reliability, security, etc. And in this section, we talk about how do we ensure that our software architecture fulfills these quality requirements. And so we talk about architecture evaluation, and we also talk about different approaches about how we can meet these architecture quality requirements. And the last section is examples. And this is simply that the trainer would bring in concrete examples from his real projects to show the course participants how an architecture would really look like in the real world once it's been developed. And one of the nice things about this is the real world isn't always the optimal solution. And I think that helps the course participants as well to understand that as well. Moving on to the advanced level courses. The advanced level courses, then there are currently 16. And on this page are the abbreviations of the courses. On the next page, you'll see the explanation of what the abbreviations mean. But just as a couple of examples, DDD is domain-driven design. Rec for Arc is requirements for architecture. Agila is architecture in agile environments, and architecture evaluation, etc. And as we see here on the right side, every course is given a number of credit points, between 10 and 30 credit points. And in order to take the advanced certification, you need to have a minimum of 70 credit points, and you get these credit points by taking these courses. So the credit points are assigned, for example, here in soft skills is completely communication, web is more in the technology competency area, enterprise architecture management is in the methodology competency area, but they're also a mixture of things. So for example, the SWAM, which is the mobile advanced level course. It's mostly about technology, but also partly about methodology. The domain-driven design is partially about methodology and partially about communication. And so this is how then by taking the different courses, then you can receive the different credit points. Once you've received enough credit points, which is typically then 3 courses, then you can take the advanced certification. On this page is simply a list of what I was talking about on the last page. It's the abbreviations and their module names, how many points for each one. Now, I won't go through this list at all. If you want to know exactly what courses are offered, for which courses you get which credit points, they're all listed on the iSAQB website. So now I'll talk shortly about the certification process. The certification process, again, begins with the foundation certification. And for the certification, you need to take a multiple choice test. Now, there is a foundation course, and it is not required, but it's very highly recommended because the foundation course just doesn't give you information about how to do software architecture and convey information about the software architecture topic, but it's also preparation for this certification exam. And so most people I know don't just take the test, but they will also take the foundation course. The foundation course is a very, very popular course. Now, once you've got certified and you've taken the certification exam and you've become certified at the foundation level, now you want to become receive the advanced certification. Now, again, the requirements for that is that you gain these 70 credit points by taking the advanced level training courses. And again, that's typically then 3 courses to gain enough points to apply for the certification. Now, once you've done that, you receive a case study. And this case study is between 10 and 30 pages and is typically written like a project. So just like all projects have requirements and certain things that need to be done, then the candidate for the certification will take the case study and design an appropriate architecture that's suitable to meet the requirements for this case study. So it's very similar to a real project for a small system, and they need to consider all kinds of things. There's a number of exercises that need to be completed, and the main goal of the candidate then is to take the requirements of this case study and convert that into an architecture design. Now, once he's done that, he'll submit that then to the certification bodies such as iSAQB, and then the certification body will contract 2 reviewers. And for example, I'm one of the reviewers, and the reviewers then will examine the case study and determine if if all the exercises have been completed, if the case study meets the requirements for the certification. And if all the requirements have met, then the candidate will receive the certification. Now, I think what's important here is the difference between foundation and advanced. The foundation is a multiple choice test. Whereas the advanced is a practice-based test. And so I think that's a very, very big difference. And in addition to the case study, you also need to show that you have software architecture experience. And so the advanced level is much more experience-based and practice-based than the foundation course. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so popular. So far we've talked about the iSAQB as an organization, as well as the iSAQB certifications. And now we'll move on to the iSAQB accreditation. That's, I want to become a training provider. How do I become a training provider? Now, here's a summary of the different accreditations that are required to give an iSAQB course. And all 3 are required. You can't have one without the other. All 3 are required to have to provide an iSAQB course. So I'll go through one after another. I'll start with the accredited training. The accredited training is more or less a accreditation of the training material itself. And this shows that the course is very well prepared, that it's well organized, that it includes the handouts, the exercises, the course plan, etc. And one of the things that's checked is to make sure that all of the material then covers what's in the curriculum. So there are definitely required topics in the curriculum that need to be covered by the training. And this accreditation validates that. So the next one I'll talk about is the trainer. And you, as a trainer, you need to be accredited as well, and you need to show for every training course that you give that you have the experience to give that course, and that you also have the didactic skills as well. So, and the last one is the training provider, and the training provider brings all of this together. And if you give an iSAQB training course as a training provider, then you need to give that with an iSAQB trainer with accredited training material as well. And so all that comes together through the training provider. I'll go through these in detail one after another in the next slides. I will skip back one, and here again, there are different accreditations, and you may be wondering why is it so complex, but here again, it makes a lot of sense. For example, if you need to get up and get up running quickly as a training provider, but you don't have your own courses yet, and you don't have your own trainers, then you can always find a trainer that is already an accredited trainer, and he may already have his accredited training material. And so as long as you're using an accredited trainer with accredited training material, then you can start up very, very quickly. And so again, it's the separation of concerns that works very well. It even works as well if, for example, you're a training provider and you have your own material, and you can work with a number of different trainers with your own material. Or you can work with a trainer and then get the training material from somebody else. And so there's a lot of combinations that you can do for the flexibility here to get up running quickly. So now we'll talk quickly about the requirements as an accreditation for an accredited training provider. So in this case, a training provider can be a company or an individual, and they have to show that they have a core competency in software architecture. So if you're a consulting company, for example, you need to show that one of your core consulting areas is software architecture. If you're a training provider and you don't do any kind of consulting or something like that, then you need to show that software architecture trainings are also one of your core competencies. So in order to be accredited, the training provider commits itself to conduct iSAQB training courses with an accredited trainer and accredited training material. And so again, this is the training provider brings everything together. He uses accredited trainers and accredited training material. For more specific information, the best thing to do is just simply contact iSAQB. The email address is accreditation@isaqb.org. And there's also a web page specifically for becoming a training provider at isaqb.org, become a training provider. So next we'll talk about becoming an accredited trainer. So the requirements here, again, you need to have practical experience as a software architect. We don't want people who have never done software architecture given the trainings, so you need to show that you have some experience as a software architect. And it's also, you need to be able to convey that information to your course participants. So it doesn't do you much good to be a software architect and have that experience if you also can't convey that information in a training course. So you do need to have some didactic skills as well. So in this case, a trainer needs to be accredited for every training course he's going to give. So for example, if I'm currently giving the foundation course and I'm an accredited trainer for the foundation course, and suddenly I say, well, you know what, I'd like to give the soft skills course as well. Well, maybe I don't have much experience in giving those soft skills courses, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense there. Or maybe I want to give a microservices course, but I haven't really had experience in microservices. So again, you need then these accreditations separately so that we can ensure that you have experience in the course that you're giving. And in this case, the application for trainer accreditation can be submitted as part of the accreditation for training providers as well. So now we'll talk about accredited training. And again, this is looking at the course organization. Is the course well organized? Are there handouts? Are there exercises? In the handouts are all the topics covered from the curriculum. And so that's checking more of the course itself. So as part of the accreditation process, you do get feedback from the accreditors, and that's really helpful because typically the people who accredit the course are experienced software architects and experienced trainers, and so you get pretty good feedback to your training material. And as well with the other quality seals, once you get an accredited training, once you are accredited for training, then you can display this quality seal as well. And again, my course participants, I have seen if they have the choice, they would rather take the accredited training. And like I previously said for the others, is that application for training accreditation can be submitted as part of the accreditation for training providers as well. So I'd like to wrap this up by talking about the benefits. Because you may be asking yourself, well, geez, this seems like it's really difficult, but actually the accreditation training process is pretty efficient, it's pretty well organized. And so it is possible to go and get accredited without doing too much work. So, and once you've done that, what's really important here is you have a high level of trust from your customers. Once they see this quality seal, they know that they're going to be getting a training from a certified or accredited trainer who also is a software architect and has experience with software architecture. And so they know they'll be getting a high quality architecture course. The other is simply to increase the success of your company. So there is a very high demand of this. I do live this then for the last 3 years, and I've been concentrating on the iSAQB trainings because there is a very high demand for the standardized software architecture trainings. And the last is basically free marketing. So as a training provider, an accredited training provider, you will be listed on the iSAQB website. And through the iSAQB website, there's a lot of people that go directly to the website, look for training courses, and when you are listed as a training provider with your training courses on the iSAQB website, it's just an additional marketing channel. And through that, you can receive some pretty high quality contacts. And the last, but definitely not least, is the picture I showed before of the iSAQB members. These are really the thought leaders of software architecture practice. These are the people that are writing the books, that are showing up at the conferences and giving presentations at the conferences, and they really know their stuff. And so becoming an iSAQB training provider, you will simply be elevated also up to this level with the other thought leaders of the architecture scene. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to Debbie for questions from the audience.
Thank you so much, Roger. That was really great content. Thank you for the overview of the scheme and also the information about how to become accredited, the process, and indeed the criteria. Very compelling and useful. A question has started for 10. One of your slides said foundation could be delivered as 3 to 4 days. What's the difference?
Both the 3 and the 4 day courses cover the same content. However, the 3-day course, since there is a lot of content in the foundation course, you do get pretty rushed because you need to get all of this. You need to get all of this content in 3 days, and you need to convey a lot of information in 3 days. And the 4-day makes it a little bit more relaxed, so there's not so much time pressure, and that's a little bit easier for the participants as well. But you also then have more time to do these concrete exercises like I talked about, to do exercises, to work on a case study and get some hands-on exercise work. And I find that in my courses that the participants simply learn a lot more when you give them hands-on experience. And so it is the same topics, but it's also some customers prefer to do 3 days because they don't have much time, and so they want a very compact course, where some would much rather go deeper into the details.
Smashing. Mirko, a question for you. How quickly can an accreditation process be carried out for all of the different types of accreditation?
Yeah, thank you, Debbie, for asking me this. Yeah, normally it takes about 1 month from the signing of the accreditation contract to the final accreditations for training provider, for the trainers, and at least for 1 training course. Yeah, so that's usually very fast.
And another question, I think, Mirko, for you. Roger mentioned that you can work with an accredited trainer who has accredited training materials. He mentioned that a training provider can actually accredit, as you've just described. Is it possible to centrally source any training materials so the training providers can come to market faster?
Yes, this is possible. Some iSAQB training providers sell their already accredited training material. And yeah, we are pleased to connect interested parties with these training providers. Yeah, and I would say, yeah, feel free to contact me directly, and I will give you all the information you need for this in detail.
A question, Roger, one for you, because I think you've been in this position yourself. How did you select which of the advanced modules to add to your portfolio?
Well, there's two basic approaches. One of the things is based on my experience, and I am an active coach as well, and so soft skills was a natural transition for me. And the projects that I work on are mostly at the enterprise architecture management level, and so that was also natural for me to start with the enterprise architecture management. If you start with a course that is popular, the ones I get most requested about are more of the technology-oriented courses. For example, Flex, it's called Flex, or Flexible Architecture, covers the topics of microservices, for example. So that course is very popular. Cloud infrastructure is popular. Blockchain is new, but it's also getting popular. And so some of those technology-oriented ones are very popular. The other one that's also very popular is Agile Architecture. So doing software architecture in Agile environments is also a very popular course.
A question from someone here who I think must be considering actually training, which is fabulous. They're asking if they have to pass the exam in the first instance.
So in order to give a training as a trainer, you don't specifically need to have the certification. However, it does make sense, especially, for example, if you're giving a foundation course, it definitely does make sense if you're already certified at the foundation level. Now, the advanced level does take a little bit longer because you need to take 3 courses, you need to do the case study and things like that. So I would suggest you can already start without being advanced certified, but at some point you should also certify yourself as well. But so it's not mandatory, but it's definitely recommended.
And the follow-up to that is, how do I certify? From an exam point of view, I can answer that. Exams are available, as I mentioned earlier, at Pearson VUE test centres or via remote proctor using Flex. But I guess part of that question, again, I'll pass to Roger perhaps, how can someone prepare for the exam if they're going to self-study?
So if you'd like to self-study, the iSAQB itself does not have a self-study guide. However, there is a book that covers all of the foundation level topics, and that's called Software Architecture Fundamentals, a study guide for the certified professional for software architecture. And that book is written by Mahbouba Garbi, Arne Kolschel, and Andreas Rausch. And if you want to look at specifically for that book, the ISBN number is 978-386-490-6251.
That's smashing. We'll actually publish that ISBN number somewhere as well so people can access it. Mirko, I think the last question for you. I'm interested, says the person. Is it possible to have a chat with you at some point?
Yes, sure. Afterwards, you can reach me by email, and here info@iSAQB.org. You can send me an email, and or you phone me, and we can talk about all the details here you saw. And yeah, I would be happy to make also offer for individual offers, and yeah, we are happy to come in connection with you.
That's perfect. So we have no more questions. I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to both Roger and to Mirko for this webinar today, and to reiterate how useful the information has been, and also to say a huge thank you to everybody who's taken the time to attend. I wish you all an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and hopefully see you all again soon. Take care.